What up, headbangers? How you doing? I'm Rob O'Day, and welcome to the Greasiest of all time. Today we're chilling with Joe Below, a four-piece melodic rock band out of Helsinki, Finland. How you guys doing?
Great.
Great, thank you for asking.
How about you guys introduce yourselves and tell us how the band got together?
You want to start?
Yeah. So I'm Ronnie. I play guitar.
Yeah, I'm Ollie. I play the drums, and
And then we have Jonne, who's not here, the bass player, and Johanna, our lead singer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, well, the band got started. We've been playing together forever, at least 15 years or something.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
But I think the band was sort of established in 2016, 2017, when Johanna joined us as singer.
something like that. Yeah, yeah. We kind of finished with the old band or what we were doing then, but continued playing and decided to check for our new lead vocalist. So Johanna got involved, and here we are. It's been a good trip.
That's cool. You guys are you just released Where Are You? And is that the first single for an upcoming EP?
That's the third one, I think.
Yeah.
The third single for it?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been busy. I think we released the first single for that EP January.
Yeah.
And the second one in
Late February.
Yeah, something like February. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So,
you guys are sticking to the 1 month plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
12
no,
steps, 1 month. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that a lot of bands have pushed towards that, releasing music once a month, every 6 weeks kind of a thing, because it's a lot easier. Because I find the worst part is when you're like writing and you're in the studio and you already hate the songs by the time they're even released. You know what I mean? You've heard them so many times. You're like, I can't stand this anymore. I'm ready for the new stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
How has COVID affected your guys' writing ability? Do you guys take care of all your recording yourself, or do you go to a studio?
Well, both, I guess. We usually record drums at a studio.
Yeah.
The rest of the instruments are recorded actually here at our rehearsal place.
Yeah.
Rehearsal studio.
Yeah. Most the first two EPs has also been recorded, mostly also the drums at our rehearsal place, where as on the side, as we've been working on the music, we've been recording, and also like the bass player is kind of quite pro at that stuff, so he's recording for other bands and so on. So it's advantage in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So we can basically do just about everything ourselves. So it's a burden in a way that it's hard to say goodbye to your songs that this is ready now, but in other way it's nice to have the control. Or no control.
And you can sort of blame any outside producer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely falls on you if it's terrible. Yeah. No, I find the best part about being a band is that creation process. And when you're in the studio and just like the magic that happens. And then when it comes to the mixing and mastering, it's almost sad, you know, because it's like, damn, it's done. Like now is the final steps and it goes out to the world. But like my baby's grown up and is walking out to college kind of a thing. So it is it is sad because, I mean, 10 years down the road, you might hear something and you're like, fuck, I wish I changed that, but now I can't. So music is an interesting thing, especially being a musician, because when do you call it quits? Like, when do you say a song is ready? Because you're always going to be able to add stuff to it, right? And you just, at one point, you kind of have to say enough is enough. And I think that's the most challenging thing about being a band. And it's nice about being a band at the same time, because you got 4 or 5 members who are like, yeah, no, it's done, versus solo artists. They have that they have to do it themselves, you know, kind of a thing. They're like, damn, like I added 14 instruments that I'll never be able to play live. So it's nice being creative, but it's also nice being able to limit yourself with a band to what you can do and how far you can go. Because I think if you're just like sitting constantly creating and never releasing, then it's almost wasted. Like I know I've done that with tons of music where I've made it and no one's ever heard about me. So it's nice to see the time we are where bands are putting out songs every month, every couple weeks, instead of having to wait like 10 months in between a band's release. We almost get forgotten during those long release periods. So it's cool to see. And like the difference between, I think it's your last album to this one, is it's really cool to see your guys' sound change too. Because you've progressed as a band, you know what I mean? And even your recording has gotten crispier. So it's cool to see how bands are taking that into their own hands all over the world. We've gained that independence, and now it's what do we do with it?
Yeah, you gotta make the best out of the shitty situation. Like,
exactly.
For instance, we've been during the COVID situation, we've been writing a lot of new stuff and also been recording a lot of new stuff. So we have kind of a buffer going on when the stages are open again. So we're now releasing stuff as we go without being able to play the songs live right now. That's sad because that's basically one of the best parts. It's seeing the reactions in the audience. But right now we're just releasing the songs, and hopefully soon we will be able to see how everybody else will react to them. Right. But as you said, at some point you're like heard the same song so many times that it's interesting how we react to them when the audience react to them like, yeah, this is the best shit or not.
I think it'll be cool when, like, for example, we're putting out all these songs and people are hearing them before we get to perform. It's going to be so cool because people are going to come to see you and know your lyrics. So you're going to already be like at that rock star level that bands love, where this crowd's singing to them. You know what I mean? And it'll be cool. Yeah, like it'll be a cool experience. I think that the music industry itself it's in a rebirth. You know what I mean? Like it's good that we had a year off to focus on writing, to focus on whether or not this is what we want. Because I know a lot of people, they were just like, yeah, you know what, maybe I'm not doing it. This isn't what I'm going to do for my whole life. Because it was such a stop in everyone's life that's a musician, that you either had to adapt to how to appeal to people online and become an online celebrity, in quotations, because none of us are celebrities, but that's kind of how you have to appeal. You know, you got to make content that doesn't have to do with your music and stuff like that. So I think that with this time, we had such a flood before, you know what I mean, with so many bands on Spotify, and it was hard to get heard. I don't think it's going to be as hard anymore, because the ones who worked their ass off through COVID, you see it, you know what I mean? Like you see the hard work in what they're putting out.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of us doing stuff, but maybe it will show in a way that the people that actually put effort into it will be like lifted a bit more. Yeah. I don't know. Let's see how it goes, but it's been like I don't know. The people there's like these people making money of talking to a camera on the computer, having a show about how they brush their teeth, and I don't know what that's about. I never watched that. I was I grew up watching videos from MTV, like with cool rock bands doing stuff that I cannot imagine doing. But now there's people like our kids are probably gonna be watching like somebody brushing their teeth on YouTube. And
quite literally.
I don't know.
It's crazy. It's a weird.
At least we're trying to do something like a bit different. Yeah. Maybe we're old school in that way, but yeah, we play our instruments.
Yeah, and not even just that. Like you guys have a unique sound for Finland too. You know what I mean? Like most Finnish bands are heavy. Like when I hear Finland, I picture Children of Bodom. You know what I mean? Like that's just kind of how I picture metal. But it's cool to hear groovy rock and hard rock coming out with a female vocalist. So it's really unique because you guys do have like heavy fucking elements, but then again, like some songs are super chill and like poppy almost. You know what I mean? They appeal to more than just the metal crowd. And I think in this day and age, you kind of have to branch out more than just the genre that you started off as, I guess. But keeping true to yourself, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that it's mostly we're not thinking too much that that anybody is expecting anything from us, like that we can do whatever we want to do or like to do, and that what we have released so far seems to be like the things, the songs that we find really good, and as it seems there's some people also that like the songs, so that's good for. But anyway, if anyone ever would never hear the songs, I think we would be doing exactly that thing that we want to do.
Yeah,
So,
and I think that that's what matters, right?
yeah,
As long as you're putting out music that you love, there's always going to be somebody who likes it. And
Yeah.
that's the key thing. I think most bands think like I need a million fans. You don't need a million fans. You know, you don't have to have a million likes. Because really, in reality, like that's just a popularity contest. Like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, they're all just a popularity contest. It's
yeah,
who has the most likes, they're the most popular, they must have the best music. In reality, I've heard bands, or I've seen bands with 150,000 likes that don't have music that anywhere compares near to yours. You know what I mean? And you guys have just under 1,000. So it's that doesn't matter. It's music, and I think that most people kind of like fell apart from that aspect of being like listening to the music versus how popular they are. Because if they're popular, they must be good. But like then you have artists who change their complete style to appeal to these people instead of just like making music for themselves. Because in reality, that's all we do. We make music for ourselves, and people, if they like it, they like it. If they really like it, they become a dedicated fan. And that's all you really need is 1,000, 2,000 dedicated fans. Because as long as they're there for you, that's all that matters. They show up to your show, you know, they come to you, see you live. When you put out a CD, they buy it. You don't need a million people giving you likes on Facebook. That's not going to make you money. So I think,
yeah. It's like I've said before that we were born 20 years too late, because the record industry kind of died in a way that people are not making the big artists, or no one is making that much money from selling albums.
no.
Or mostly it's from gigs and merchandise.
And even that.
Now there's no gigs, and most of the merchandise goes from there. So
yeah, so then you've got to make a store, an online store, and sell all these other random products to appeal, you know. So it's not just we don't get to just sit, write music, and tour anymore. As much fun as that was, we don't get to do it anymore. We have to run a business. We have to run everything because, like, how much does a tour cost? You know what I mean? If you guys were to go on a month-long tour, it costs quite a bit. I mean, I don't think people realize that. Like, I did the statistics. I researched 2-3 days ago, and in 2018, it cost just under $50,000 for a month-long tour in North America. What band can drop $50,000 if they don't have income coming in? You know, so if people aren't buying your CDs, your shirts and shit, like you're never going to be able to go out there and get your name out unless it's out of your pocket. And I think that that's a sad fact because, like, yeah, we get paid less than a cent on every platform other than Bandcamp. You know, Bandcamp is the only one who stands up for bands. And I think that Bandcamp would benefit better. It would take over if it had an option to like customize and make it look better. Because I know as a consumer and a customer, I look at Bandcamp's layout and it just deters you. You don't want to go to it. You know what I mean? But in all reality, it's the best place to get bands' music. You can buy their albums, you can buy their merch, and it goes directly to them. It doesn't get through some third party, fourth party, fifth party, and then eventually you get 50 cents. So I think that there is a change. Like, I do think that the model of record labels that we know in our mind are dead. And those major record labels like Nuclear Blast, like all these ones are slowly going to fade away unless they adapt to the artist. Now it's appealing to the artist because we can record our own music. We can put it out, right? So a lot of the independent labels are already ahead of that. They're like, no, you record, you take care of that, and we just help you with what you need help. We charge you a certain service, if anything, right? So that's kind of where it's moving towards, where we have our independence, where we hire out people again. And I think it'll give us back that power as the other industry slowly dies. This one will grow. And yeah, I think COVID gave us a lot of benefit other than the fact that we can't perform. Because realistically, like that's the only thing that's happened that was a negative, because we got to sit and write, we got to focus as a band for a year, create marketing plans and understand how to sell our product to people online, which most bands didn't understand before. They just posted something like my page and continued on with their day. Now we understand how to market. That helps us out way more, because now we understand how to network with other bands. Now we know how to make a product, sell it. How do you get people's attention in a world where people have 30-second attention spans? So we've had to grow so fast in such a short amount of time that I think emerging artists have such an upper hand in the next 5 years that it's going to be kind of a cool thing to see. I'm really interested.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Because I did, like, if you think about it, we really didn't lose any income unless we were full-time touring bands, right? Like we make some money off of our sales, but most of the time we do this out of our pocket for our own enjoyment, our love for the music. As one of these big bands that we look up to, they have $1 million contract with whichever record label that they've got to pay out still. And if they're not touring and selling merchandise live, they have no income coming in, realistically. So they're sitting on savings right now and hoping people are buying their songs and Spotify plays. But really, they're not going to be, they're going to have a hard time getting back to paying the level where they were. Even if they hit up big festivals, they're going to have to charge double the ticket price and no one's going to go. So I think they're going to be forced to look to bands like us, emerging bands, where we've already developed our business skills. Our music's there. It's a waiting game. I think that's what I'm trying to basically get to. It's just a waiting game for bands that are busting our asses off, kind of a thing. So it's a beautiful time, even though it's complete chaos everywhere. It's almost like a revolution's about to happen and we don't even know it. We're just kind of like teetering on the fence. So I'm curious to see how the future will be. How is the local scene in Finland? Like when you guys perform and do a local show?
Well,
like it's really small here. Like there are a lot of clubs like to perform in, but at some point there was too many clubs. So to have interesting bands playing like every weekend, it's a tough call. But now like you said, COVID changed everything. So a lot of places are closing their doors.
Yeah.
Let's see how they will survive this whole epidemic. But I gotta say to what you said before about like big bands will get their money anywhere from merchandise, all that. But like here in Finland, at least, the scene is really small. There are only like handful of big bands that really like live out of all that.
Yeah.
And so a lot of suffering musicians right now because they pay their rent because they play gigs, small gigs every week, every weekend, everywhere. And it's not about the record sales, it's mostly about the gigs.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of session musicians that are out of work right now, and they don't have their name in the songs, so they don't get anything from the radio plays or anything. So it's really tough on that. But you want to say about something about the how was the local scene?
Was the local scene?
Or how it was?
Yeah,
how we remember it.
I think at least the metal scene was a lot bigger, maybe like 10 years ago. And I think there was kind of a big metal boom 10 to 15 years ago here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been slowly going like this.
I think that's globally.
About the rock scene, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, about the rock scene, I don't think there has been a big like a rock phenomena here.
No.
Or do you think maybe maybe
so.
when him was getting big around, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, might have been something, but
yeah, maybe it's been mostly like the more extreme music. Like it hasn't been that big. Like
no, and that's a hell of a point you just made too. Him is one of the greatest rock bands in my mind out there. I don't care what anyone has to say. You know what I mean? Like Velo as a singer, he's fucking incredible. The band is they can write great music, and they're definitely underrated. And I think I've interviewed a couple bands from Finland that don't do metal, and I think that's why I love interviewing bands that aren't metal artists from Finland, because you guys don't like, your metal scene is massive. You know what I mean? Like European metal scenes are massive. North Americans isn't. The rock scene here is massive. So it's kind of an opposite spectrum. So it's not. I like to talk to rock bands from your scene, because it's true. You guys are the underdogs in your music scene, right? Even though metal and rock are so fucking close, there's this huge division between musicians right now, and it's happened in the past 5 years. And I tend to blame it on social media and the popularity contest, is because now we're all competing with each other instead of working with each other, which we used to do 10 years ago. And I think that's globally, there was a huge metal scene. I think it was more of a metal community. And that's what's lacking, is our metal community, our rock community, just the community of bands where we used to help each other book a show. You know, like you'd book a show with a metal band and a punk rock band, and then you have 3 different genres, and we're all helping bring in crowd so that you can see new bands, you can meet new people. Now it's like
I think that still exists here. Like it's so much, even though there's some like big names coming out of Finland, but still I think that exists here, that everybody's helping each other. Like the circle is so small here. Like you mentioned him, and I'm playing with the old snare drum of him's drummer. I bought it out from him when he quit the band. So
hey.
So that's like everybody knows everybody. It's really small, the scene. You go to a local gig, you can run into any of those guys.
See, that's beautiful. Like if I showed up at a show,
that's really nice. I cannot imagine how, like, out there it's huge. So it's a really rare opportunity to run into some of your idols.
Well, that's the
thing
is
here, like
BC and Finland, I'm pretty sure. I don't know the population difference. I don't know how many people are in Finland. I know that it is a smaller country and it is very tight knit. You know what I mean? People all know each other, and it's kind of like rural BC, kind of where we are in Canada. But like BC itself only has about 6 million people. So realistically, we don't get a lot of big bands coming in or out of where we are. And in the States, I know that there's only certain places where big artists are really humble enough to like go and support the local scene. Most of the time they try to stay away from it though, because they're scared of being bombarded by people. You know what I mean? And that's completely understandable. But I think it would be cool if more big artists went to the local scene to support. Like that's a key thing that I think that makes your guys' scene awesome. Like if Linde showed up at one of my shows, I'd be like fanboying. I'd be so stoked to meet any of the members. You know what I mean? And it's just like, that's so cool that you're just like, yeah, we just booked a show and they just kind of showed up and we're supporting us. And it's like, fuck, man, that's beautiful. That is something, that's the community that the world needs back. And I think it's slowly coming because of COVID, because we're all struggling, right? No one's making money. None of us are technically performing. I mean, Texas is, which is awesome. There's a couple of states that are performing, and I'm so jealous because I'm like, I want to play, but I don't know. We're in a weird time, and I think it's a beautiful time. I think it's needed. Like the past 15 years of the music industry, we've watched our rights in music get taken away from us. The amount of money we make, the appreciation from fans has gone down. And I think that this lack of a year and a bit of not having any performances will make people hungry for live music, and I'm hoping so because we need it. You know, like when we hop back on stage, I know I'm gonna try and break my neck headbanging. That's just how it's gonna be, and I think everyone's gonna kind of be like that. So I know that here we have our scene is tight, but at the same time, it's very clicky. So like you have certain bands that work with certain bands only. They won't really branch out and meet new bands. So they only do shows with these handful of bands together. Where
Okay.
I know 15 years ago it'd be like, oh, okay, well, we've never performed with you and you're local. Let's do a show together. So there's kind of like a weird like the scales aren't there anymore, like how they used to be where everyone helps each other. They're kind of just like leaning towards the we only want to help ourselves. So it's you see it changing now during COVID, which is nice because I know for the past 5 years, like it made me irritated to perform locally. Like I always just wanted to branch out because I was like, I don't want to do it here anymore because there's no point. So I think in time that'll change, and I'm hoping that bigger artists do give that not a handout, but like show up to your scene once every now and then. Check out the local bands because what if they become one of your favorite bands? Like what if one of your favorite bands came to your show because they're local and was like, damn, I fucking love these guys, like they're one of my favorite bands. Like I think that's all we ever want, as it's just to have dedicated fans. But I think when we look up to people, and we look up to these musicians that are on a different pedestal than emerging bands, we always think like, oh, they're too good. Like, especially on tour, people always think when they don't want to talk to the fans, oh, they're assholes. Well, no, in reality, they're working like 20-hour days. They just traveled 16 hours to get here to perform after setting up for 10 hours. Like, you gotta give them a break. Like, they don't just like, it's not an easy lifestyle. And we know it, but I don't think fans know it. And I think that underappreciation of what we do for people, for their entertainment, I think that's lacking. Like, I think people forget how hard it is to be a musician. It's not just playing an instrument on a stage. It's weird.
Yeah.
Your guys's how close are you guys to opening up for performances? Do you know?
I don't know. There's I have had many emails from postponing gigs again and again. Like I bought some tickets to gigs a year ago or something, and still waiting them to happen. So I'm hopeful for the autumn to bring us like some gigs. We opened up for a while last summer. Like there was like restrictions, but they made it happen quite well. I even went to see a festival gig because Ronnie was playing it with another band.
Yeah.
So I want to see that gig, and it worked beautifully, and everything's fine. But of course, the situation now is a lot worse if we're looking at the numbers. So, but hopefully after the summer, or even during the summer, we are a bit closer. I don't know. Let's hope the vaccinations and stuff will like start working.
Yeah, it's weird
during this year. So
it's so weird. So weird. Growing up, I never would have thought like, hey, there's going to be a time in my life where the whole fucking world's going to shut down. Like no one realized this was the beginning of the apocalypse almost. Like
but I'm still waiting for the brain-eating zombies. But
I've been saying it for months. I'm like, bring on the zombies. Like it's the only thing missing, and I'm totally down. Like I'll go knock out some zombies for fun,
like,
right?
Everybody's just having a flu, so.
Right? I think that's a missing theme too. I think like that's something that bands could be using and utilizing. Is like, shit, this is pre-pandemic for zombies. Let's make some music videos. Because it's weird. I know that everybody I've ever talked to, even like older people, they're like, yeah, we never thought this would happen. Like. It's obvious it would happen if you look at like statistics of how many human beings there are and how fast fucking diseases change, right? Like it's insane how we managed to go almost 100 years without anything like this. You know what I mean?
But, everybody knew it's coming, but nobody was getting prepared.
I don't think anybody realized how bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see how we learn from this or don't learn from this. So
right. It's definitely a lot of learning lessons. Like, especially in like you look at North America, it's had the last year alone has had so much controversy. It's like its own TV show. You know what I mean? Like I just kind of sit back and watch. I'm like, damn, this is entertaining. Like, what is going on? And I think that's because the whole world's kind of like figuring out, like you see revolution everywhere, right? Like in Asia, there's a ton of revolt going on. Middle East, there's a ton of revolt. Even in Europe, there was a ton of revolt. In the UK, I think we're all just kind of sick of the same old shit. And it's slowly just like we're in that process of everything's changing, but we don't know how to do it. Not just in the music industry, but with all life, you know? So I think it's a really weird time for anything because everybody got affected by it, not just bands. But I think bands got hit. I'd like to say the hardest out of any of the industry in any industry because a lot of other people were considered essential. You know what I mean? Like dollar stores were still open. You still had things like that open, but bands, not a fucking chance. Like, no, don't even think about it. You're not going to perform at all. So, like, hopefully you're here when you're done. Like, you know, and you do see some people who are like some companies that put like foundations together to help musicians. But I think that we're not looked at like we're essential or even needed because there's so much music out there. But really, music is the most important thing in culture. It heals. It unites.
It seems to be it seems to be a bit of the same thing here that the opinion sometimes seems to be toward that it doesn't matter. There's always gonna be some hippie playing a guitar in the like corner of the band,
right?
Like so why would we take care of the hippie right now? Like there's somebody can replace the one, but it doesn't work like that. And now, hopefully, people will understand now, like how many crew members it takes to put on a big show. It's like there's a lot of people without any income right now because there's light technicians or audio technicians,
first aid, pyrotechnics.
Yeah, everyone like who's depending on the industry. So it's it's really bad, and it's interesting to see like the first row bands here in Finland are announcing that they're selling their equipment like
right. That's sad
like, because they cannot pay their rents or whatever bills they need to pay, so they kind of get rid of their loved ones.
Exactly.
For that.
And to a musician, that is basically what it is. Like I always try to say like the love we have for our instruments is really hard to describe, right? Like it's almost like the only thing I could ever think is relating it to is either a child or a pet, depending on how much you love the one or the other. You know what I mean? Like I know people that love pets like they're their own kids. Like you don't even talk bad about it. Like that's how I feel about my drum kit. Like don't talk shit about my drums. You know what I mean? Like I'll fight you. My cymbals are smashed up because they're loved. So it's a weird thing, and having to sell that, like that's heartbreaking. I don't think people realize that'd be like giving away your dog. Like, oh yeah, here, just give me your dog because you can't afford to keep it. Like that, it grips heartstrings. So I don't, or like it does. It really hurts to think and hear that because I don't think a lot of people would hear that. You know, it's not something that's broadcasted. Like a lot of the stuff that we talk about on our show isn't broadcasted, and not many people know like the numbers we get paid from Spotify and stuff. I always bring it up, but I think the more it gets brought up and brought to light, the more people will realize it and maybe give us back that appreciation. So it's nice to hear stories from all over the world about how things have been affected by COVID, and to see the bands that persevered and like made it through, because those are the ones that we're all going to be looking up to. You know, we're going to be watching you guys headline 3 years down the road, kind of a thing, because you may put the legwork in during COVID. It wasn't a year of break and hang out and jam. It was a year of let's record. How do we do this? Let's get some going, you know? And I think that there's a handful of bands out there that have done it. And I think there's a lot more bands that didn't. And it'll make a big opening for us. So, and I hope it brings back that appreciation, because I think live music died. I think there was a like not for electronic music. Like fuck, electronic music's. Somebody just hosted a electronic music festival here like 2 weekends ago or something like that, and it's like we're still not supposed to have gatherings, and they're like, nah, fuck it, we're doing it. And I'm like, people will show up to that, but like we're not allowed to like have a concert with restrictions, like where people have to stay at a table and watch a live performance still. You know, like why can't we do
DJs are not dangerous.
that? Right? No, but I think they don't realize that culture, like EDM culture, I love it. I love the people in it, but there's a lot of drug use in the culture. You know what I mean? And a lot of like body sweat and liquids and shit combining when you're dancing. And I don't know, man, weird shit goes on in those dance pits. And like, definitely not a place where we're in COVID. You should not be doing that. I'm just going to put that out there because, yeah, we'd like to perform. Don't ruin it for everyone. You know what I mean? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Like, yeah. And I think that's happened a lot. And I think that's kind of why we're still locked down, is because people just kind of like eventually get to a point where they're like, fuck it, we're just going to do it anyway. And then it keeps holding us back. And I mean, vaccines, I'm hoping vaccines fix things. I mean, I'm hoping so, but I don't know. At this point, it's like, is it ever going to end? Or are we just going to be stuck to like broadcasting our performances live? That's what I'm scared of.
I don't know. Let's hope for the best.
Right?
Even if the vaccines don't work, like maybe it will give the placebo and people will carry on as they used to be, and just some like
global placebo effect. That would be beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's probably exactly what this is. It's like, all right, we fucked up. It's really not as bad, but how do we go backwards? Let's put something in them that's real, but not real, and they'll think they're good. No. Write a whole album about it. No. Yeah, no, things are just weird. It's cool to see and hear from your guys' perspective too, because not a lot of people know what it's like for an emerging band out of Finland. You know what I mean? Especially a rock band out of Finland. Metal, you'd assume they'd be fine, but like rock is underappreciated because it's not as heavy. And I think that that's a cool thing that you guys have chose to do, like, is to play rock in an area where it will make you unique. You know what I mean? Like, it makes you unique because you guys write the music you do. And I think that will make you stand out more after this pandemic. I guess that's the easiest way for me to say it, because most people would expect crazy metal to be coming out with screaming, but they wouldn't expect a rock band that has those elements, that has a female vocalist that just wails. You know what I mean? Like, you guys have all the perfect elements to music. And I think that as soon as this pandemic's done, you guys start performing, people are going to crave something new, you know? And I think that that something new will be what you guys have in your area. So I think that, like, patience is key for all of us. I think that's the number one thing that we got to remember. We didn't get here overnight. Like, you guys have been playing together for 15 years. You'll probably be doing it for another, what, 45? You know? So it's patience. Like, it's you know, like they always say Da Vinci never painted the whatever chapel overnight. Like, fuck yeah. It takes time. How many times are we going to play to an empty crowd before we get to play in front of 1 million people, you know? It's just keep working. And I think that's, the bands that I noticed that I keep interviewing, they're all the same. We all have the same view as this is what we're doing. And it did not even COVID can stop us. And that's what makes us shine. Especially in a world that's tends to follow each other's footsteps. You know, if one person leads, everyone else follows. And we kind of just said no and took a break, and we're leading in a different direction. And I think that's what's cool about emerging bands now, because we have that independence, and it's led us to be like, no, this is what we're doing. You can either like it or you can go follow the herd, kind of a thing. So it's a beautiful time for musicians, and it's a unique time for the world. So I think things will change. I'm hopeful. If there was anything in the industry that you guys could change, what do you think it would be?
You just about covered the Spotify and.
I think that one's a mutual thing between all bands. The Spotify just.
Yeah.
But,
Actually, it's a good platform.
Yeah, Spotify has given us a lot of exposure, so
Yeah.
we're thankful for that.
Yeah, but
Definitely thankful for the
like I
exposure.
said, what I meant by being born like 20 years too late, like then the albums were selling, and on the other side, we haven't died of drug overdose yet. So
Right, and that's
I think we had been born 20 years before we would be big in the 80s.
yeah.
But like gotta see the bright side of that. So but yeah, I hope that there's gonna be still a platform and a way for bands that like are doing it for the love for the music and love for doing it,
Yeah.
and not just so much this pop idol stuff that we see that big companies like produce these phony plastic artists that
I call
are
it McDonald's music. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's just like
that's
eating
a good way
McDonald's
to call it.
burger, right? Like it's
Yeah,
just
that's
sustenance.
yeah.
It's like, it's so
Yeah,
gross.
but still, sometimes when you're hungover, you don't mind the
Right,
McDonald's burger.
exactly.
So maybe it works
Exactly.
like that when you're driving the highway or something, and you hear the McDonald's song
Yeah.
on. Maybe you don't switch it because it's probably done by few really talented producers, and there's
Yeah.
some catchy things about it, but still, it's not your everyday meal. So.
Mhm. Yeah, no, exactly. I always relate it to McDonald's music because it's definitely what it is. And I think that
Yeah.
people, it's just, they eat it. They're fed. That's what they're put on the table, and they eat it. And that's how I look at music nowadays. Is that we used to have like this itch to find the newest band, and I find musicians still have it, but I feel like the listeners don't. Like they lost their drive to find the newest thing. They're just like, oh, what's the newest thing? Tell me.
Yeah.
I don't know
You
if
wanted
anyone's
to
ever.
change something in the industry?
Not really.
He's like, no, I'm happy. I get paid. I get to play festivals. I'm good.
Yeah, maybe.
No, that's cool. So, when do you guys plan to release your full EP? Do you have a date?
The EP is going to be out next week,
I thought so.
April 16th.
I thought so because that's
Yeah.
why we were having you guys on.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, is that dropping on everything?
Yeah,
think so,
on all the major digital platforms.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good. Well, when you guys get your next stuff out, because on the 16th we'll promote the hell out of it then for you, and help you guys
Thanks.
out with that, because this will probably come out. This won't be out until next month, but just because the schedule. But we'll still promote it and anything and help you. And next time you guys drop a music video or have anything else, you're more than welcome to come back on, and we'll do another interview.
Great, thank you.
Thank
Hopefully
you very much.
COVID's done, and then we can all get you guys all together.
Yeah. Hopefully.
All right, guys. Well, you stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you very
Okay.
much.